Welcome, everyone, to the 1 year anniversary of the passing of Keith Wilson celebration. This is meant to be a celebration of his life. One of the things that Keith showed me as an adult man that thrilled me to no end because it gave me permission was that he was very easy to cry. And boy, am I the same. Uh, and so my intention was to be a pillar of strength for all of you today and to give you the opportunity to share stories and have us celebrate. And I'm already a little weepy. If you don't know my name, I'm Rick Wessels. I'm the CEO of Keith's Cacao, and I am the luckiest man on earth. And I give that introduction to myself, and people often ask me, so what makes you so damn lucky? And I will share some of that with you right now. I'm lucky because I had the good fortune of uh, running into a cacao ceremony. And that led me to meeting Keith Wilson and him and Barbara inviting me to visit him in Guatemala. That was in 2016. And then they subsequently asked me to become a partner in their business. And that for sure makes me very lucky. The work that I did with him changed me enough to be able to appreciate this in a way that I never would have been able to before. And I'm pretty much convinced that he's directly responsible for me being able to find my wife. And there's another really great reason I'm so fortunate. But as I prepared for today and thinking about being lucky and all that he did in my life, I read a post on Facebook. I will admit I was doom scrolling. I was just trying to, well, get a little break. And I'm going to read something to you. I don't think she's here, and I hope she doesn't mind. I mean, she posted it on Facebook, so I'm pretty sure it's meant to be read. And of course, I can't see these glasses on. Um, this is uh, this is a post by Anna Ganapolowski, who lives across the street from the Keys Cacao Workshop with her partner Herb. Um, in addition to the kind care that many of you, including Andres and Gisela and Yera, um, work so hard to help support Keith and Barbara, particularly for the last 6 months. Herb and Alla were there um, for many, many days in the last few months, feeding them. And so I hope you'll hear how heartfelt her message is. And by the way, it reveals the real, true reason, or one of my favorite reasons, that I'm the luckiest man in the world. This was clearly written yesterday. It starts with exactly 1 year ago today, Keith, the Chocolate Shaman Wilson, passed away. I never posted or wrote about his death until now. Silence was part of my grieving process. And plus, how do you honor someone so special, so multidimensional, so otherworldly with words? If Keith was around, oh, now I've lost it. Oh, Lordy. There we go. If Keith was still around, he would say, Allah, that's a load of bullshit. You're a really good writer, and I'm not a single unicorn hair more special than any of you magical wizards. Keith had many gifts, making the best cacao on the planet, making psychic predictions that often came true, making thousands of people from all over the world flock to a tiny Mayan village in Guatemala just to sit on his porch for hours and get into some deep emotional and spiritual shit. But I think Keith's greatest, most extraordinary gift was the way he could make you believe in your own inner magic, your own light, your own power to transform your life and the lives of others around you if they wanted the help. Most people have heard the quote, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Fewer have heard the second part of the quote, when the student is truly ready, the teacher will disappear. I certainly do not feel ready for Keith to leave his body. I still don't. But I also know that he left us in good hands, each other's. Thank you for welcoming me to this community. It is the reason I am the luckiest man in the world. All of you. The opportunity to experience the joy that you bring into my life is a great gift. And it's all because of him. Um, without meeting him, I wouldn't get to do this. And I imagine many of you have similar kinds of stories. I think it would be a really fabulous time if we could all drink some cacao and be led by Ta Andres Jimenez. Andres, are you ready?
Yes, Rick. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to see you here today. And that's kind of precise, as I discovered in the past couple of weeks, that I was seeing everything very blurry. And I hadn't noticed that. So I'm getting used to these new glasses, but it's very good to see your faces clearly today. Mm, let's get started. So please grab your cup, hold it in front of your heart for a moment, and take a minute to connect with the sensations in your hands, in your cup, with the sensations and the feelings in your heart. We are calling in today, most of all, my teacher, our friend, Kid Wilson. So take a moment to call him in. Remember his face, remember his words. Let him know while you grab this cup of cacao that he is remembered, that he is being honored, that we are carrying on with so many things that he left for us, that he initiated us on. So take just a moment to feel that, his presence in this cup of cacao, his presence in your heart, his presence in your life. And as all of us do that, we also can call in all of our unseen friends, our guides, our helpers, all of our soul family, our ancestors in both lineages. We can call in the guardians in the four directions, the spirits of the places we live in, of the forests and the jungles, the spirits that protects our houses, the places in which we work, the cars in which we go around, the streets we walk through. We call in the beauty, the truth, the magic that Kit so kindly remembered, helped us remember that we all have inside. And as we do that, let us call on the cacao spirit, Ishakau. Let us call on the mineral councils, the green councils, the animal councils. Let us call on Ishtoh, Ishanil, Ishakau, Ish Sihab, the spirits of all the seeds, the spirit of Akau, the spirit of sweetness, the spirit of the fire, the heart of the sky, the heart of the earth. And most of all, let us call today the authenticity, the honesty, the transparency inside each one of us, the truth in our hearts. Let us speak with words of compassion, of love. Let our memory be transparent and pure today. And in doing so, I just want to say thank you to everybody for being here. I don't want to make this very long, so enjoy. This is the cacao we have been making during the last year in the same way we always have done. Enjoy it because Kit is in every block. Cheers. And while you drink your cacao, I would like to share something with you. Let me see. Here I go. So this is this morning. We had a fire ceremony this morning with the team of Kids Cacao, and this is the flowers, the altar they prepared for him. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. This is the team. We all got together in the property that is below the taller, right by the side of the lakeshore, and we all got together this morning to honor Kit and to present an offering to him. Well, this one is better. Uh, and this is the altar we prepared for him. I decided to present a pink flower to him. The Mayan elders say something very beautiful that I find very beautiful. They say that our hearts should be pink, but that many times they are very red, an intense red. They are red with anger or with sorrow or with resentment. And so they have often told me, Andresito, you need to have a pink heart. You need to stop getting so angry about everything. Just relax and let your heart be pink. So I decided to present this flower to Kid because this is the way I feel him now. When my heart is pink, I know he's there. That is the presence of compassion, of love, of kindness. He has become such a strong and calm presence in our life here in San Marcos La Laguna. He has become such a clear advisor, a way opener, a map maker, literally in these days. So I decided to present him with that offering this morning. I will later tell you about a dream I had with him that I find very, very precise in the way I want to share today with you. Another perspective of the altar, we presented him with a lot of seeds. So you can see there are the cacao beans. These are the new ones we got, and they are so beautiful. I cannot believe that in a time of scarcity for the world of cacao, like we are living in these days, we are still getting this kind of incredible seed. Like the quality in these beans is amazing. So we presented him with a little bit of that. We also presented him with sesame seeds, with corn, with achiote, that is the red seed that it's used for tinctures here in San Marcos, and with the small seeds of ramon or chia that many of you have drank here in your lemonade. Very, very small seeds, black seeds. And here is another perspective of that. We offered him yellow candles, white candles, a lot of rosemary, chamomile, the albahaca, the mint that has been growing in the altar. We also presented him with that. So I wanted to show you a little bit of the altar we presented him with this morning. There is so much truth in these altars that the Mayan people has taught me to build, because it doesn't matter if we are celebrating a birth or if we're having a memorial like today, or if we are having an initiation. There is always so much beauty and color and abundance in these altars. So we can always remember in the presence of an altar like this that life is so incredibly plentiful in every moment. We can connect with the presence of what we have in front of us, but also with the presence of what we cannot see in front of us. These glasses help me see you better today. When I'm in front of the fire, it's like I put on a different kind of glasses, and that helps me see what is not there. And Kid was there this morning, I can assure you. I had to sit around, after we finished the ceremony, I had to sit around 20 minutes more with the fire because it will not go out. So that was the way in which Kid told me, I'm still good at making you wait. I'm very much alive, and this is me in this fire. And a lot of tears were shed. The guys, the kids in the taller remembered him in so many beautiful ways. But most of all, we remembered something very important. Today in the Mayan calendar, the sacred Cholquij, we have a day that is Ho'ob Anil, 5 Anil. 5 represents our hand, the work we do with our hands. And it can also represent the obstacles, the difficulties we go through, because we go through that also with our hands. But in combination with Anil, Anil is the spirit of all the seeds. It's the spirit of the cacao seed, of the tobacco seed, of the pumpkin seed, of the corn seed, of everything. And a teaching that we remembered today that is very important is that seeds cannot lie. Seeds never lie. If you plant a cacao tree, you will get, if you plant a cacao seed, you will get a cacao tree. If you plant an avocado seed, you will get an avocado tree. So if you if you think you planted a cacao seed and you got an avocado tree, there is something that is not right, because seeds don't lie. A seed always shows what it has inside, always shows what it is. It never lies. So when we look at what we are harvesting, we can go back and say, oh, so this is what I planted. This is what I planted, because seeds never lie. So I was discussing that with the people of the taller, because still today, so many people, maybe without a lot of compassion in their hearts, maybe without a lot of knowledge about what's really going goes on here, says many things about Kid and his work that I don't find them to be accurate. So I asked the people in the taller, let's see at the fruits of what Kid planted. We are fruits of that. The work we do every day, it is a fruit of that. The cacao a lot of people is drinking around the world is a fruit of that. The softening of many hearts around the world, the remembrance of the true nature of many people all around the world, all of that are the fruits of what Kid did in this world. So I say, if we have fruits, a harvest so beautiful, the seeds must also be very beautiful because seeds don't lie. So it's a good day to remember that and to see that with brand new glasses. Mm, before going into a meditation, a practice that I would like to share today with you, because I think the best way we can honor Kid is by doing the work. So let's do a little bit of that today. I want to share with you the dream I had with him in December, a couple of weeks before going to Colombia. Mm, I was in the house that I had in Colombia before I came here to Guatemala. It is an apartment in downtown in Pereira, Colombia. And this apartment has a very long wall, very long. I think it's 10 meters, 12 meters of a very, very big wall that goes from the windows that are in the front of the apartment almost all the way to the back. And there was nothing on this wall. And I was trying to write something there. And then Kid appeared in the dream, and he had a lot of big sheets of paper and all kind of markers and tape and pencils of every color. And he told me, let me do that. And he started painting a map in the wall. And it was a map of all Central America, Mexico, South America, then the rest of the world. And he drew many lines in this map, like airplanes flying all around the place. And then he started making very difficult calculations. Like I think now he knows very complicated math that I don't understand. And he started writing all these formulas and statistics and all of that. And he filled this huge wall with what seemed like a plan. And I told him, Kid, I have a problem with this because I don't understand it. It's very complicated. It's too much. I cannot understand it. And so he told me, don't worry, Andres. Don't worry. This is my part. All you have to do is to do your part every day, which is whatever you wake up knowing you must do on that day. And let me take care of the rest. And this was a beautiful dream to me, a beautiful dream to me. I stopped stressing about so many things and followed his advice. And it has been working. So far, so good. That's my report on that dream. And I wanted to share that with you because I think he's doing the same thing for many of us. He's taking care of the big plan, and all we have to do is focus on what we have to do today. So let's focus on that. Find a comfortable position and let's go inside. Allow yourself to focus on your breathing very gently. There is no need to stress about it or to make any effort. Just be mindful of your in-breath and your out-breath. As you breathe in, be aware that you are breathing in. As you breathe out, be aware that you are breathing out. As Alessandra says in the chat, just trust and allow. Trust and allow. And as you do so, please imagine right in the place that you are sitting in this moment that there is a pillar of light emerging from the center of the earth and going up to the center of the galaxy. And you are there in the middle, in the center of this pillar of light. Every time you breathe in, all the pillar of light breathes in with you. Every time you breathe out, all the pillar of light breathes out with you. Just trust and allow, breathing in, breathing out. As you keep breathing, allow this pillar of light to get bigger with every in-breath and out-breath. Allow it to get to the size of your apartment, your house, the property you are in right now. And as you breathe in and out, send blessings, send your love, your compassion, your light with this pillar of light to all life around you in the place you are in right now, to every corner of your house, to the fridge where your food is stored, to the bed you sleep on, to the people that is in the house right now, to your pets. Let this energy, this light, go to every corner of your house without any expectation. Just sending your blessings, your unconditional love to every corner. And as you keep breathing in and out, allow this pillar of light to grow to the size of your city, of your town, of the territory you are in right now. And send your blessings, your unconditional love with this light to every tree, to every blade of grass, to every bird, to every building, to every person in your city, your town, your territory, whether you like them or not, whether you agree with them or not, whether you think you love them or not. Just send your light, your blessings, your unconditional love to all, to everything. And as you do that, there is no other way around. You'll start receiving that back because what you put out is what you get back. So allow and trust. Just send your light, your blessings, your unconditional love to all. Send your blessings to the rivers, to the mountains, to the clouds, to the sun, to the moon, to the stars. As you breathe in and out, allow this pillar of light to grow bigger and bigger until it is the size of your country, Guatemala, the States, France, Germany, Colombia, whatever it is. And send with this pillar of light your unconditional love and your blessings to everything that is alive, your country, to every rock, to every underground river, to every lake, to every bog butterflies, bees, to every child in your country, to every old man and old woman in your country, to all of those that are now going through sickness or imprisonment, to all of those who are in need, to all of those that doesn't have a dish of food today, to everybody, to those who are very rich and plentiful, to every living being, without any expectation. Just allow your blessings, your unconditional love to flow without any restriction. And as you do so, allow the pillar of light to grow even more until it is the size of planet Earth. And hold planet Earth in your consciousness, in your awareness, surrounded by this beautiful pillar of light. Hold the planet in your blessings, in your love. Give Mother Earth back a little bit of what she gives you every day. From many different places in the world in this moment, this light is being sent. And for those who have the right glasses in the cosmos, it is visible right now from far, far, far away. From distant galaxies, this pillar of light is being seen and noticed. Just allow. As the pillar of light grows, your heart grows. As it expands, your heart expands. Allow it to expand and expand and expand. Ask for more of this love to flow through you so that you can feel it and channel it and send it without fear, without restriction, without expectation to every corner of the cosmos. Keep breathing in and out, just feeling this plentiful abundance of energy, of love, of light going through you, reminding you that you are this light, this love that has no expectation, that is completely unconditional. And slowly allow this pillar of light to get a little smaller from the size of the planet to the size of your country again. Sending blessings. Just that. So many of us did this in the porch so many times. In a way that brought tears to our eyes. And you can remember that. And you can bring that moment, that happy moment to your mind, to your memory, and enjoy it one more time. Allow the pillar of light to become a little bit smaller to the size of your city. Coming back. Allow it to become again the size of your home, your house, your apartment, your property. And now that it has this size, ask it to remain there permanently during the following 13 or 20 days or whatever you need, so that anybody that goes through the door of your house instantly receives a download, an upgrade, a piece of information that they have been looking for, a healing energy that they urgently need without even needing to ask, just by being in this presence of the light, of the love that you are living there, permanently installed. So that you, every time that go inside your house, receive an upgrade, a download, so that every time you go out, you carry with you the protection, the love, the company of this energy. Let it surround your plants, your pets, the people, everything you work with, your computer. If you paint, the things you use to paint or to write or to make music, your instruments. And whenever you feel ready, whenever you feel this work has been done, this pillar of light has been built once more, rebuilt in your house, in your apartment, in your property, allow yourself to open your hearts, to open your eyes slowly and come back. I want to say thank you, Rick, because I didn't have this planned. But when you talked about being a pillar of strength, I immediately knew what I had to do. So thank you very much for that. Mm.
Thank you, Andres. That was for me. That was exactly what I needed. Thank you very much. It was beautiful. Uh, one of the other great things that Keith taught me was, didn't really need to have a plan for these things. At the right moment, the information comes. I would love to have any of you who would like to share a memory or a story of Keith to raise your hand and we'll start the lineup. And as you're finding the desire or the courage to do that, um, let me share a little something else with you. Before I met Keith, my understanding of spirit and energy and what this experience we're all having here on Earth was very narrow. And so, if someone would have said to me, someone very important to you is going to die in the future, but they'll be with you even more so once they leave this place than they ever were when you were here, I would have smiled and said, "That's nice. Um, I'll show you the way to the crazy person's ward, and we'll get you some help." I shared this emphatically when we did ceremony right after he passed last year. And I want to confirm for any doubters that it is still unbelievably true. He is here. He is ready to help. He is excited to do so. Any fear that his human form held has long drifted away. All you have to do is ask. Oh, my good friend Nicole, you were the first one to get your hand up.
I was so inspired by what Andreas shared, and my share. You'll know why in a moment, but thank you, Andreas. That was so beautiful. And thank you, Rick, as well. Just, I can feel both of you and your hearts and your love for Keith. So I probably don't need to say anything. You can see the flowers that are here with me. Every week I buy some flowers, and last week it was a bouquet of yellow, the same flowers but yellow. And they were getting a little tired, so I went to the store the other day to get some flowers, and I don't normally gravitate to pink, but this week it was like it was the pink flowers, and I'm like, okay, it's the pink flowers. So I brought them home, and then you can see my altar behind me. There's a picture of Keith. And behind it, I have like a little vase. And last week I had the one yellow stem in there. So this week, as I went to put the pink one in, I said to Keith, is this okay? And he said, I want both. I want both the yellow and the pink. I'm like, you got it. You can have both. So he's so with us and connecting us clearly, connecting this community, and I really, last week I really needed him, and I was crying and just missing him so much, and needed him, and he was there for me, and I received exactly what I needed for me to do the work with myself, with his guidance. So that's all I wanted to share, is just how much I love and miss him. And I love all of you. And thank you. Thank you just for being the beautiful humans that you are.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for everything you do for this community. Natalie Santana, you're up.
Hi there. I was going to get up and grab the pink roses, which I unexpectedly bought the other day. I'm just so moved by this gathering. So many memories have been flooding through. I spent maybe a month in Guatemala in 2013, and I somehow found my way to Keith's porch and spent 7 hours the first time I did a ceremony with my boyfriend at the time, and it was one of the most profound moments of my life. Just meeting someone like Keith and having a profound spiritual experience where it just felt so seen. You know, it's one of those rare moments that I could count on one hand of people that just seemed to see right into me. And I was just pouring with tears most of the time that I was sitting there with him in the ceremony. Yeah, I just remembered his words when I got this invitation to come to this gathering today. And I hadn't relived that experience for years and years, and it's been making more sense during these past years where the world's gone through such big upheavals. And I remember in an online gathering later on during COVID times when he was saying, I don't know how much longer I have, and things are going to get worse. And I thought, how could that be? How could things get, how could things get more crazy before they get better? And I remember saying to him, I remember my first ceremony with you on your porch, and you guided us in a meditation. And when you came around to me and you started to talk directly to me, I was uncontrollably crying because I felt as though he was just speaking directly to my soul like no one else had ever done. And he said, you know, what are you going to do when all those people come to you for help? And I didn't even really understand what he meant at the time. But I could feel it in my body and my soul. And my inner child understood it because of my experiences in my childhood and how I was the healer in the family. And, you know, I would put my hands on people to take away their pain. And I was there for people, but they weren't there for me. And so all of that pain just was flooding out. And yeah, I just remembered those words recently. Yeah, a lot of love for Keith, and thank you so much for holding this gathering and reminding me that he's right with us. And yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Natalie. Yael, it's your turn.
Hi, everyone. Wow. Oh, God. Yeah. Rick, I feel you on this one. It's just, yeah, the tears flood in, the tears flood out. And I'm just going to say, I know Keith is with us all in the 5D. I feel him almost every day. Well, I do. I feel him every day. I drink his cacao every day. I miss him in the 3D. I miss those calls. I miss talking with him. I really miss him. And yesterday, the actual anniversary of his death was the first day I was actually able to put a picture of him up on my altar. I literally haven't been able to do that before now. I have his picture at my cacao ceremonies, but yesterday was the first day I was able to actually put a picture. There's one picture of just him. And then there's another picture I have of me and him and Barbara, which I just love. I miss him a lot. My first meeting with Keith was on a Zoom call back in 2019. And no, 19. And I said, "Hi, Keith, I'm new." And he goes, "Oh, there's nothing new about you." He goes, "You've been doing this for eons." And I'm like, "Oh my God, he sees me, he knows." And that was the thing, is like Keith saw all of us. Keith saw me, he saw all of us, he celebrated us, he knew what we were capable of doing. And I'll tell you, when Allah posted that message, Rick, I knew exactly what you were going to say when you said somebody posted something yesterday. I'm like, he's going to read Allah. And, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. And when the student is ready, the teacher will disappear. And it was on that last ceremony that he held. And he literally said to me, he's like, "Yeah, Al, I want you to know you've now reached success. You're there. You just have to let yourself know it, but you're there." And those were literally the last words he said directly to me. And it's just kind of crazy when Allah, you know, wrote that. I loved his frivolity. I love that he saw humor in everything. He'd be going in with you. I mean, I remember my first homecoming. I've been, you know, to all the homecomings, and the first one right before COVID hit. And at the time I was married and I was there with my ex, and I was a puddle of goo on the floor, just like crying, "I'm so tired." And he's just came up to me and he's like, "You need more self-love." And then he taught me how to parallel universe shift. And I sat there and he's like, "Okay, feel on your left. There's that, you love yourself more, you love yourself more, you love yourself more. Feel it, feel it, feel it, that parallel universe." And my eyes are closed and I'm so into it. And then he goes, bam, and knocks me into it. And then goes, boop. And I was just like, whoa. But that's the way he was. And that's one of the things that I just loved so much about him. It was just like, you know, lighten the fuck up, people. Don't take this all so seriously. This is all a joyful experience. And it's something that I truly bring into the ceremonies I do and all of the energy work that I do. And I'm so grateful to have spent 5 years with him. Like, and I, when I start really missing him and things like that, I just sit there and like, I got to spend 5 years with Keith on these calls, on everything. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And then just one last thing that, I mean, I've written on Facebook, I really think I have to say, Keith has had the biggest impact on my life. I mean, there are only a few other people I think that I can say have had maybe is an equal an impact. One being, a parent and one of my other teachers, but Keith, my God, I mean, he taught me how to, I mean, he helped me remember how to love myself. Really and truly, he helped me move into a parallel universe where I could love myself more. And that is the number one thing you can do for anybody. And he helped me get there. Um, yeah, so I'm grateful he's still with me every day. I'm gonna just say, I wish he was still here in 3D. I really do. I just want him to boot me on the nose one more time in 3D. And yeah, and that's it. I'm just beyond grateful, beyond grateful. And seeing everybody here celebrating him is just really beautiful. So thank you. Thank you for giving me this time to talk and share.
Thank you, Yael. Sharon Claire, it's your turn. Are you ready? Are you still here? You're muted, dear.
Hi there, can everyone hear me? Yeah,
Yes.
I'm on my headphones, so if it sounds all right, let me know. Um, thanks for giving me some time and space, everyone, to share my remembrance of Keith and Barbara. So yes, I'm Sharon Claire Sotheby. I'm from London, and I've spent 10 years with Keith and Barbara as my mentors. Thanks to Angela, who I met in December 2013, and through my previous mentor, Karen. And Angela then connected me to Keith on a Skype call. I remember it was February, it was either January, end of January 2014 or early February 2014. And I was the first time I met him, and I was so grateful to see Angela again because spent some time with her in person in a cacao workshop in Surrey, and I was the one crying, crying a lot out of the whole group. And there's Angela going, "You're such an empath," you know. And I was like, "Yay!" She understands, and she helped me so much. So thank you. I can see you're on the call. So when I actually met Keith, I was like, oh, wow, Angela's with someone different. And she mentioned Keith. And I've got some family in Guatemala City. So I was like, yay, connecting to Guatemala again. But yeah, he spoke to me about my inner child. And I was like, oh, I'm moving on to healing my inner adolescent, kind of keeping it cheery. But what they didn't know was I was literally like on the verge of a mental, emotional, physical breakdown, and I knew it was going to happen. So speaking to them both and being introduced to Keith in that way, just before I actually had that breakdown, which was one of the biggest, darkest nights of the soul, and it was a massive shift for me. Yeah, it was really special because I was completely broke. I had no money in my bank account. I was living in a lovely house. They were on my laptop and I was in a lovely conservatory. So I was actually really grateful for that environment. But after that call, it was such a reality shift. Yeah, he changed my reality and my world. And I thought to myself, I have to see him in person. Even though things are going really down, I thought, I don't care. I will find a way, even if I don't have any money in my bank account, I'll find a way to get myself over there and see him that year. And that's exactly what I did. So I catapulted myself out of the breakdown that did happen. And that was, when did it happen? February, March. So around about March, going into April 2014. And I did some traveling before, but I landed on Keith's porch in November 2014. And no one was around. I was expecting to see loads of people. And there was 3 of us, literally. And I was like, wow, no one's here. And there's me and there's these 2 guys and Keith, and it's just the 4 of us. And I was like, okay. And it was just brilliant. It was so very intimate and brilliant. And that's when Keith turned around and shook my hand afterwards and shook my hand and went, welcome to the Cacao tribe. And I just looked at him and I went, right, I've joined the Cacao tribe. I'm part of the family. And I spent 3 months in Guatemala 2014 with Keith and Barbara from November, December, January. I left early February 2015. And then that's it. We stayed in contact. I've been mentored and healed by Keith for the last 10 years. Out of those 10 years, we've probably only had about a 3-year gap, where we've had to say to each other, we're going to have a break. And it's always been kind of like 8, 9, 12 months. And then we've been back on it in cycles. I think the biggest break was from 2018, 2019. And after COVID, I said to my guides, I want to get back in contact with him. And I want to work with him again. And so that's what happened. I was guided for the day and the month. So I acted on my guidance and was back in his life by October 2021. And I didn't realize I was in the empath swamp, but I was. And that worked from October 2021 through to March 2022. All of the work we did, and people saw it, by now we're like in a online group, because I was used to working with him on a one-to-one. So yeah, being exposed to healing with him in that way, with everyone in the group. Basically that work, by the time we finished that and the time I was guided to leave again, I was out of the empath swamp. And I never thought I would have that feeling of not being in that empathic swamp that you kind of all know, I guess. And then I was guided to get back in contact with him December 2024, on the 8th of December 2024. And that's when I saw him ill and in not the best condition. But I just thought, oh, you're always upgrading and going for a shift. I didn't think he would be leaving us. But I just would like to end on a happy note. Is that I've moved from London to Avalon, Somerset, Glastonbury. And last week I literally saw this guy who looks like Keith's brother. No joke, it's literally was this spitting image of Keith. And I'm up on the tour and I'm walking down and I just literally, my face, you should have seen it. And the guy just smiled at me, but I literally saw Keith's soul and spirit through this guy who looks exactly like him. Like, this is an identical twin we're talking about. He's walking around in this town that I've moved to. We call it Avalon. It's Glastonbury town. A lot of people know it. It's a heart chakra of Mother Earth. And I just was dropped, my face just dropped, and I didn't logically, I jumped out of my logical mind and just was like, that's Keith in front of me. And I went, oh my God, to the guy. I went, you look like someone I know. And then he just looked at me smiling and went, yeah, like that as he walked past me, Gandalf. And I was just like, that's exactly something Keith would say. So I was just like, no, not Gandalf, someone else. But I get it. I totally get it. You know, and I've seen him again since. I can't work out whether he lives here or if he's visiting, but if I do see him again, I'll ask to take a picture and tell him to look up Keith Wilson, because there's definitely, and I just feel like Keith is definitely speaking to us all, wherever we are, but also I'm so grateful to see his soul and spirit here in Glastonbury and here in Avalon. And yeah, I definitely want to do the cacao practitioners course and really open up some cacao circles here. I've come through so many breakthroughs and life and death and rebirth cycles that it's, yeah, being prepared to share the love and share the healing, and definitely share Keith's cacao a lot more and get people knowing about it a lot more. Because we have an international community like Lake Attilan here in Glastonbury, Avalon. So it's going to be brilliant to meet people that are just coming in and visiting or on their sacred pilgrimages as well. So, and I feel like be reminded of Keith, or really feeling his spirit and soul here, especially in that way, is like his thumbs up going, yeah, I'm with you and we're going to do this. So I look forward to being in touch with Rick and Barbara a lot more about that, and everyone else. Thank you, everyone. I don't mean to go on. Thank you. Blessings.
Thank you, Sharon. Hey, Rev Share, are you ready?
I just have
Good
to
to see you.
hi everybody. Boy, there's some faces on here that I'm so loving seeing, like all of you. A lot of you know how my story with Keith started, but it's such a good story that I'm going to tell it again. In 2012, and I know I'm going to cry. In 2012, I was in a pool of tears in my living room in January of 2012. I was doing a radio show called Lucid Waking. And I was, I interviewed Bruce Lipton, I interviewed Rasha, I interviewed some really, really big name people in the spiritual awakening community. But I had been through so much paranormal stuff before that time. You see, Keith didn't teach me how to be magical. I came in that way, and no matter how much life tried to keep me from being magical, other parts of my life made sure that it did not go away. But dysfunction and magic create a lot of mischief and a lot of interesting kind of traumas. So what Keith helped me do is help me sift through all the trauma so that the magic wasn't more traumatic or fear-based. So that January, I was in a puddle on the floor because I wanted desperately somebody to come help me make sense of what the fuck was going on in my life and why I was having every kind of fucking mystical experience one could have since I was a little kid. Because nobody had been able to answer any of my questions for me up until that point. And I'd asked a lot of people, including my very dear friend, Frank Bear, who's important to my story with Keith. Frank Bear was my first teacher, and he was the first one that I played with magically, and we had a lot of magical fun together. And he developed Parkinson's, so he couldn't play that much anymore, not in the way that we used to. And shortly after that is when I ended up on a puddle on my floor because nothing was making any sense. And I demanded that the universe send me somebody. And when I say I demanded, I fucking mean I demanded. 3 months later, I get a phone call from my friend Irene. And she says, hey, I got this kind of old hippie dude here, and he's looking to have a really kind of interesting ceremony. And I just thought chapel's perfect for this. And I'm like, I'm kind of picky about who I let do ceremony at chapel. You know, not just anybody can come do ceremony at chapel. So first of all, if you're telling me about this person, I'm intrigued, but what is it that they do? And she goes, well, he does ceremony with chocolate. And I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued. What do you mean he does ceremony with chocolate? Well, it's sacred chocolate. Well, how is chocolate sacred? So I was intrigued, but there was something else that was going on inside my heart as I was talking to her. And as soon as my heart did that little flutter thing that it does when it gets excited about something, as soon as that, I hear Keith talking in the background, and he's telling Irene something. And she says, oh, by the way, he wants me to tell you that he's got one-on-one appointment before this ceremony, if you know anybody who might want it. And I instantly said, I do. I want it. So the very next day, Keith Wilson shows up at my front door. And that moment started a 14-year friendship. But when he came in my house, and believe it or not, that was a 4-hour session, and we didn't drink cacao. He didn't bring any cacao with him. We just sat in my office for 4 hours, and he took me through every paranormal traumatic event I'd ever been through, starting at the age of 5. He read my energy as if he was reading an encyclopedia. And he said, do you want to do this thing or not? And I said, yeah, I guess good, because for some reason you trust me and you don't trust anybody. And, you know, if I'm being honest, that's more a truth today than it isn't. You know, I haven't completely learned to trust all of humanity yet, but it's much better than it was when I met Keith. Keith had a way of not telling me stuff that actually helped me get to it on my own. And in the beginning, I got kind of pissed off at him because I'd hear him tell other people these great things. And then he'd look at me and go, nah, go deeper. I say, but it's that, nah, go deeper. And I'd ask him, what do you see in me? And he'd just stare at me with those blue eyes and not say a word. I showed him a picture once that I took of shadow beings from other dimensions that I took in Chaco Canyon. And it's when him and Barbara were here, and they stayed here for 3 weeks. And I said, okay, make some fucking sense out of this for me. What the fuck is this? And one of his most profound teachings and pointings for me was him looking at that picture, showing it to Barbara, looking at me with no expression at all on his face, and handing the picture back to me and not saying a word. And I got it. I got the point. And I accidentally ended up taking that picture to Guatemala. I think it was in 2019. And I said, hey, you remember this picture? And I showed it to him. He goes, oh, yeah, that was the loudest wake the fuck up I ever gave anybody without saying a word. Wake up. You already know who you are. Quit playing around. And that's how he treated me all the time. And I so appreciated it. I so appreciated when he wouldn't tell me what I wanted to hear, and he'd make me go find it. And when I say make, what I mean is he would help me get the opportunity and push past my resistance. And man, do I miss that sometimes. This year has been a year of a lot of masters leaving me, between my dog and so many people. and including parts of my ego that taught me so much that are leaving. And I've been blaming Keith all year, by the way. This unraveling that's been happening ever since he left has been the most masterful blessing and painful and connecting through disconnection that I have ever experienced in my life. And I have no idea where it's taking me. And the only thing that keeps me feeling blessed in the uncertainty and the fear and the terror that can come with this kind of stuff is the unsurmountable amount of love, pure unconditional love that holds it all. And Keith helped me get in touch with that because he exuded it. Keith taught by example. He taught me to teach by example. You can parrot all you want, he said. Parrot your little heart's content. But you're not going to be really teaching anybody but yourself until you embody what you're saying. That was one of the first times I met him, when he would tell me some really hard shit, like, don't give people what they don't want. Stop trying to give them what they don't want. So in a really weird way, Keith encouraged me by cutting my legs off often. But he would do it in such a beautiful way that you thank him. You know, it's not your legs he's helping you remove, it's the crutches, right? It's the things that you think are holding you up instead of your own legs, instead of your own grounding presence. And he helps me remember that every single day. Now, I mentioned Frank Bear. Only in my fucking weird ass life does this shit happen. So Frank Bear I met on AOL in 1998 when the AOL chat room started, right? And his name was Xenophone. And we had a lot of fun, me and Mike and him and a bunch of other people from AOL would go camping. We'd have some phenomenal experiences that, you know, normal people would go like, y'all crazy. And he used to tell us about his caving days here in Texas, right? Where him and this group of people go caving and explore all these caves in Texas. And he especially liked the times when he went naked with this group of people and they would go naked spelunking. And he loved those times. And Frank was quite the character. And I remember him mentioning that there was this geologist in this group that was really good at reading rocks. And he'd mentioned him a few times, but he never said his name. And the 3 weeks that Keith stayed here, I was talking about Frank Bear, and all of a sudden Keith looks at me. He goes, Frank Bear, the linguist? And I said, yeah. He goes, huh. I went spelunking with him many, many times. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. He goes, no. And I instantly had to write Frank and say, Frank, tell me that you don't know Keith Wilson, the geologist. And Frank said, oh, I remember him. He was really good at reading rocks. This is way back in the 70s, right? What are the odds that I'm going to meet these two gentlemen and both of them are going to be master teachers for me? And I'm going to have to say goodbye to both of them. Lost Frank about 6 years ago to the other side, but he likes to poke fun at me just as much as Keith does. By the way, I'm going to finish my story by telling you when I know Keith is around, because he puts his forehead right here and he puts his hands right here and he says, boop, boop, doo. And I'm flooded with love. And he likes to dance, disco dancing around me sometimes. And it's horrible white boy disco dancing. Very clumsy, wonderful, funny, erratic movements that make me laugh like crazy. And in a way reminds me of Maharaji Ji, who likes to dance around like a monkey for me. So enjoy the joy and enjoy the playfulness. I have to go teach a class at Senecor. And I'm so glad I got to share my story with you guys. Big love. Angela, it's so good to see you. Brenda, I love you. Yael, all of you guys, thank you so much. Rick, thank you for holding down the fort and doing everything that you do. Everybody else that works with Keith's Cacao, y'all are a treasure. Keep growing, keep glowing, and just allow your expansion. You can't not do it, right? Isn't that what he said? Nobody can be you but you, and you can't do you wrong. So, bye, loves. I love you all. Peace.
Thank you so much, Rev Share. So good to see you, dear. Angela, you're up.
Hi everybody. Hi Rick. Hi Nicole. Hi. Oh my gosh. Hi everybody. I swizzed through to see who was on this call, and my gosh, there are people I have a 14-year history with on this call, and instant memories just started to flood back into my heart. And what was really interesting was that I had a number of messages show up on my phone, pretty synchronistic. And I kind of wish Rev Cher could stay in the call because it all links into her story too, which is really interesting. We have quite an overlap in the way that we found Keith, because the lady that she was speaking about, Irene, was part of the Running Buffalo tribe that got me on a journey through Guatemala, Belize, and Mexico in 2012. And I think I have to apologize to a lot of people because I didn't realize over the years that you might have been subjected to my story in the introductions that Keith used to give on some of his calls. People told me years later, oh yeah, we know, like we know you work with the young people, you have the luminaries and the Luminary Academy in Cyprus and all of this. And I was like, how do people know? So if I'm gonna say a few things that you might have heard before, my apologies, bear with me. I had asked, I'm just getting a message from Sita going volume up. I hope you guys can hear me. I had asked Keith, of everything, of our journey, of our adventure, what should I share? I got the tremendous privilege to live and work with him in San Marcos for close to 3 years, back in 2012, along with a couple of my crew that I see on the call. And back then we had 4 days a week ceremonies that would go 6-7 hours on the porch. We then asked him to do a little advanced group that we called Shark Tank, which was pretty brutal at times, but it was amazing. One-to-one. So it was kind of like this really incredible vehicle for growth, transformation, healing, everything that all of you have had experiences in your own ways with Keith over the years. But I had no idea I was going to ever meet this person. I had never been part of the plan. I'm sure this is resonant for many of you. I'd been a medical doctor. I was running healthcare projects into the multi-millions and helping set up palliative care services. And I was an emergency medicine doctor. I was a kind of a bit of everything, trying to find my way. And at the same time, had been an energy healer since I was a child and a gigantic empath. So I was pretty burnt out by 28. By the time I was finding my way on Keith's porch, I was suicidal. I had absorbed so much stuff and I had no idea which way was up and which way was down. Life, you know, one of the messages I really wanted to echo, which I'm sure resonates for so many people on this call, we need to trust to be thrown into the dark void and trust that we're going to be caught on the other side. And I've had a number of those experiences in my life, as I'm sure so many of you have. I think it was never as powerfully clear in testament, that truth, as what happened when I was brought to Keith's porch. Synchronistically enough, just before Rev Cher was speaking, the two people who did bring me to Keith's porch through the Running Buffalo journey, out of nowhere, after a couple of years of not being in contact, just suddenly messaged me and said, "We love you. We're thinking of you. We know it's the Keith anniversary yesterday. We were just speaking about how we're all connected and how we're always going to be connected." And that's actually part of how Rev Cher also ended up in Guatemala, thanks to Aaron and Milena. I had done my very first mushroom journey on this trip in Palenque with my group in an exceptionally unbelievable experience where we had this opportunity to have the whole of Palenque to ourselves overnight. And they opened the pyramid to King Pakal's tomb, and we had access to that all evening, and it was 6 of us. I don't even know if that can even happen anymore. And I took these mushrooms. It was all very intentional, and write your intentions. And there I was waiting pretty tense, because I've never had a psychedelic journey like this before, and nothing was really happening. Everyone else was tripping balls, and they were having the most incredible experiences. And I'm like, it's my trip. So I thought, well, I'm going to see if I can push this journey a little bit. So I went down into the King Pakal's tomb, and I sat down by the wall and thought, okay, maybe something will happen. And I closed my eyes, and whoosh, spiral took me. And these little Mayans, ancient Mayans, showed up in the trip, in the hallucination, and they're all celebrating and laughing. And I'm like, where's my trip? I thought, wow, I'm being really rude. I shouldn't be saying this, And it was just this really funny experience. And on the third request, I said, look, where's my trip? I've asked, I want to know what my purpose is. That was my intention for this trip. I've been jumping from medicine and specialties and different areas of medicine, and not really finding my flow. There was something that I was extremely good at manifesting. Within 15 days, I would manifest the whole new project as I had wanted it. But then it was not in alignment, and something would crash. I would crash it back down. And I was done. I wanted to know what was my purpose. And this central mind figure, comes closer, and he said, "This is all there is." So, what do you mean this is all there is? This is all there is. And I'm getting really frustrated. And he said, in 5 days from now, you're going to land somewhere and become a medicine carrier. Now, I wasn't raised around new age hippie people or anything at this point. I thought, medicine carrier. I said, no. I said, I have medicines. I'm a doctor. And he starts laughing at me, and he just kind of fades away and walks off. And I was like, well, whatever. Okay, let's see. 5 days later, we landed in Lake Atitlan, and it was the spring equinox, the 21st of March, 2012. And Aaron had booked us in for a private cacao ceremony with Keith. And very similar to Rev Cher's experience, for 3 hours, Keith told me my entire life story and read my energy, read my field, like I know he's done for so many people in this call. And in no uncertain terms, explained to me what my future was supposed to be really all about, and that I was resisting certain things, and I had to offload a whole lot of other empathically absorbed stuff. Right at the end, as we were getting up to leave, I bawled my eyes out. I've been crying for 3 hours, that kind of ugly tears, convulsive tears, And he said, hang on a minute, Angela, I got a message for you from King Pakal. And I remember turning to Aaron going, did you say something? you know? And he's like, no, I didn't say anything. And I look at Keith and he has his eyes closed and he said, Angela, King Pakal wants you to know that he was the first known king, Mayan king and cacao shaman. And he was one of my etheric teachers when I was training. And I'm thinking, this is wild, he said. And he opens his eyes and he looks at me with those blue, crystal blue eyes. And he said, you're coming back to train with me. And all my little group looked at me because I was from this far-flung island that nobody could even pronounce or spell properly, right? It's not Cypress Hill, it's Cyprus in the Mediterranean, totally different, that nobody had ever heard of, you know, and everyone else was from the States. And it took me like 4 days to get to where we were. And it was just this kind of really insane thing. And I just looked at him and I scanned him. And just as Rev Cher had shared, I didn't trust teachers anymore at that point. I'd been really fucked around by a lot of teachers. And I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this really weird thing that tends to happen somewhere down the line. And my solar plexus and my heart just went, woo. I thought, oh my God, I can trust him. And I just looked at him, I said, yeah, I am. And the rest of the crew were like, what are you talking about? I said, I'm done, I'm staying. That's it. I'm not going back home. And that began a 3-year intensive, which led me to where I am today. And there is so much I could share. I have taken under advisement over the last years from so many of you. And I've begun to write the book of that journey with Keith. And I hope it will be resonant and bring something beautiful for many of you if you decide to pick it up one day. What is really true, and Rick shared in the beginning, and I think this will be echoed, I suspect, by everybody, he really is with everyone. I called it Keith's Part 2. Since his passing, I've got like a radio station dial that is on my right side that seems to now be quite well integrated. Like I hear him and then he shows me stuff and he gives me information. And I know from conversations over the last year with a lot of people that they have their version of that kind of experience. He is having the time of his life in his passing. I've never seen him brighter, with more energy, with more excitement to be helping in the way that had always given him so much passion. And exactly as was said before, just ask for what you need. He is so excited to help. One of the messages I got just before, as Rev Cher was speaking, was from one of my magical young people who knew Keith quite well and had done many sessions with him, and who had given him his first grandchild through our community 3 years ago. And she fell pregnant a couple of months ago. And I woke up this morning and I heard Keith say, it's not going to be a girl, it's going to be a boy. And we were both very clear it was going to be a girl. She went for her scan at the beginning of this call. And she sends me a message with the scan. She was like, I'm in shock. It's a boy. And I just heard Keith laughing. Ha, 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 ha. So I don't know, guys, he's playing. He's having the time of his life. In that weird saying, you know. He's with all of us. And I hope that, I hope that everybody really, really can feel that. It's the biggest truth I know. One last thing before I make space for everybody else, and thank you for listening. A lot of you reached out over the last year for a lot of different things, and in a very similar story again to Rev Cher. I actually had 7 deaths this last year. All of them, except for one, were elders who held very key positions for me, very similar to Keith. and one was one of my young people from leukemia. So it has been quite a year, which is why a lot of your messages never got responded to. I'm slowly picking up on emails and DMs and things. It was a time to retreat, and it was a time to reorganize the inner world, because I know that there's a lot of us who have been called now to step up into the next phase of our eldership, of our space holding capacity, of our work. And that death process, you know, has its timing, and for sure we come out on the other side of it, with more friends in the unseen, more protectors and guides to work with. And there is some amazing things coming. So I will be sharing more about that, you know, for those people who I'm in contact with. And please, yeah, be patient. I will respond, even if you messaged me 12 months ago. I'm making my way through those things. So anyway, thank you for listening. So much love to everybody. So great to see so many of you. My heart is really, really touched. And thank you, Andres. Thank you, Rick, Nicole, everybody who has had Ala and her, people who took such exceptional care of a person that I love so, so deeply. And yeah, let's see what the next stage has for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angela. I never get tired of hearing that origin story, by the way. I heard it many times before I met you. And it's just as delightful now.
Thank you. And again, apologies if Keith rambled on. I had no idea. I truly had no idea until one day. And I was like, oh my gosh, please, guys, please. Like, people are gonna hate me by the time they meet me. But yeah, anyhow, it was a privilege. It was a privilege.
Thanks for being with us here today.
No, thanks for the invite. Take care, guys.
Thank you. Jennifer, are you ready?
Thank you. I am ready. Are we ever ready? I don't know. This is such an amazing community, and I am so grateful that I can be part of it in this limited way of dipping in when you have these opportunities to have the group. So thank you, Rick, for keeping me on the emailing list. And also, I asked Keith what he wanted me to bring to the group today. And I asked that yesterday as I've been thinking about how my journey, goes all the way back to the 1970s, before we would ever have Zooms or cell phones or any of that kind of thing. And Andreas, when you said seeds don't lie, I realized that that seed that Keith planted when we met in the 70s, I am now this, I don't know, could I be a tree by this time? Since I'm nearing my 80th year. But he wanted me to take you back to his earlier time in Pennsylvania, where he was born. So I will try to journey back into those times when I was in my 20s, he was young, but he still had, as I listen to all of you, I see where his seed was already growing toward what we all are. Amazing, isn't it? So he too helped me believe in that magical part of myself. Because I felt like when I look back at who I was, in my memory, when we first came, Jerry and I, to Pennsylvania, I was from North Dakota. And so Pennsylvania didn't feel good to me. It had too many trees. The mountains weren't high. I was from the prairie. There was wind all the time. It was cold. And I thought, how am I going to adapt to what I don't know, basically? And I'm just starting my life out too, because I had just agreed to come and make a commitment in a relationship with my continued husband, who's still here with me. So it was amazing. You talk about meeting your teachers. That is what happened for me when I came to Pennsylvania. Teachers I didn't know I was going to even have in my life. There were 3 teachers, Evelyn Snook, Bill Russell, and Keith Wilson. And each one held a different key to how I would wake up to what it is in my life that I'm continuing to become. So Keith would just show up at our house, even around dinner time, with a bag of carrots, where he would sit down at the table. Jerry, my husband, was a great cook, and he had a gourmet meal on the table. But Keith was into a raw food diet at the time, because he said it was live food. And I said, okay. So we would all enjoy his company, and it didn't matter that we were eating different food. There didn't feel like a judgment around that. It didn't feel like we too had to suddenly eat carrots just because he was. No. So, and conversations, yes, they flowed out of time and space. So I don't even know, there used to be no limits on time whenever you were with Keith, and you probably all remember that, know that well, because I hear that in your sharings. So when we went on our walks, the one-on-one walks with Keith, I think of them kind of, I don't know how I can describe this, but it felt like we were both children returning to the garden, and not the Garden of Eden the way it's described, but the real garden that's here on earth, and remembering how it really is to be a human being in relationship on this beautiful planet. And Andres, I have to thank you for that beautiful meditation, because it did connect me to that was what it felt like, that there was an ability with Keith to understand that everything was sentient. So I didn't know anything about plants. I wasn't comfortable in the woods. This was not my birthplace land. And I didn't know I was going to become an herbalist. I didn't know at that time what I was going to become, other than I was aiming towards being an artist, which I am, and I'm grateful for the trust I have in my artist self, because it was the imagination that was always fostered and nurtured when I was with Keith. And I noticed that. And so artistic aspects, you don't always have to create something with your artistic acts, skills or crafts. There's just a way of being with the plants in that way, which I loved. So the sentient aspect, when we would walk, he would say, or he would imply, or I would just get it through that, like you talked about, he sometimes doesn't use the words, that because we went to these different places, the place responded to us. And you know how tall he was and gangly, kind of giraffe-like, sort of, and grasshopper-like. And as we'd walk someplace, if he saw something like a plant that he wanted to draw my attention to, you know, there'd be that amazing gesture of his, which is just his hands going out like this, and then he'd be on his knees on the ground. And it isn't exactly like we were talking to plants or listening. It just was part of how we were, you know? So it isn't like he'd then start saying, well, this plant is good for this, or this will heal that. But, you know, he knew all that too. We could access that. He would share that because he knew that too. He was an amazing herbalist. And he also was an amazing botanist. He knew plants, the identity of them. So that's an amazing foundation that I still really cherish, having been blessed with that. But also, I think the most important thing for me that I would like to thank him for is that connection of sentience for all things and place, because I am now longer in Pennsylvania than I was in my birthplace. And everything around me is alive. And to know that you're never alone because it's alive out there. You're not going, it's not like I go talk to the trees. I just, yeah, I'm a tree hugger, but I know that this community absolutely understands how that can be. And so I just keep getting that lovely early part of my life nourished when I get to listen to all of you, but your amazing journeys and awakenings. And I go, wow, I too did awaken, didn't I, in the presence of this person? So the reciprocity that we learn in that way of being with everything that is alive. And that's what I get from this community, is the sense of that reciprocity. We all must give back. And that's what's beautiful when we mature, like the trees or the plants or the gardens that we plant. You know, we're that seed, but if we're fortunate enough, we get to be the leaf, the stalk, the flower, the fruit. And like the cacao that you gather so beautifully to share, we fall to the ground again, but things sprout from there. So today my cacao cup included white pine needles because since everything is alive, it wanted to also meet cacao, because cacao does not grow in Pennsylvania, except maybe at the university. They might be doing some experiments in a greenhouse of growing cacao to make chocolate popular. I have no idea, but I wouldn't be surprised. And so the white pine needles went into the cup. And I'm finding that whenever I do prepare cacao for myself or others, I'm often adding another plant because I think they want to all get to know each other. So plants would like to know cacao too. Plants like to know each other. So yeah, thank you for this opportunity and this time. I so appreciate it. Thank you.
Jennifer, thank you so much. It never gets old hearing stories from the time before any of us knew Keith. Thank you very much. Anna, are you ready?
Yeah, yeah. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to look at all of you at once. And there's people on here who I think, I don't know if I know you at all, but I remember the name on Zoom from the calls maybe, or even like the picture you set when you turn your camera off. And I'll be like, I don't even know who that is, but I recognize. Anyway, it's such a treat to hear you talk, Jennifer. I love that you said white pine because Andres, I always, when you talk, I always stare at your white cacao bean and I think it's so cool. And I love how it glows. And I was noticing that and thinking about it a bunch when you were talking and I I'm not going to say too much because I feel like I could just talk forever and we can all just keep saying the same things and the same stories. But also I want to say I love hearing all you talk so much and that things that people have said in the last year will be like just as precious. Things about Keith that people have said will be just as precious as things that Keith said or time spent with Keith, because it's like the effect of his life's work is all of us and us knowing each other and sharing that. Like Paula, I remember you said on the Goodbye Keith call that he knew you better than anyone, and I think about that like every time I think about him, probably like every day I think that and how that's who he was. And a lot of people will talk about his piercing blue eyes. And when he looked at you, people have said, you know, I didn't trust anybody. I didn't trust teachers. And then his eyes looked at me and there was complete trust. I remember the way he would look at me through Zoom. And I was like, even through Zoom, no one's ever looked deeper into me. And that feeling like someone who knows you better than anyone. Like it's just been the greatest honor to know him. Um One of the incredible things about the way he helped us as people share their experiences of being like mentored or coached by him, I'll think that's not the way he talked to me. And I sometimes he was working with people and the way he would be talking to them. And I thought, God, he's so intuitive, like the way he would always say, I know exactly what to say and when to say it when he's working with somebody. And the way, like he talked to me the way I needed to be talked to, the way I would respond to, and that ability to meet everyone exactly where they needed to be talked to. Um, and this lasting impression, Angela, I want to thank you. I think at homecoming you said, as so many of us say, when we were working with Keith, we'd be crying so hard, like we couldn't keep up with like mopping what was coming out of us. And you said, well, I always cry like this. And he said, yes, but what you cry about will change. And that has served me so much. It's like you'll always be exactly who you are, and that's perfect. But you will evolve and change and grow within that flavor and style that your soul is. Like him, you'll always be this silly. And around this time of year, every year, I listen to all the Harry Potters again because it's really special to me. And the parallels with Dumbledore are so special. They talk about his piercing blue eyes. And I realized today that Harry knew Dumbledore for 5 years, and I knew Keith for 5 years. And that intensely silly spirit. And you know, Dumbledore was the most gifted wizard alive, but he knew he wouldn't take any other job because he knew teaching children and teaching the younger generations and staying playful and protecting their special gifts was paramount. There was no better place he could be. And that I love how people talk about Keith with time, that he had no sense of time because there was just nothing more important than being of service to us, to anybody that wanted his help. But it wasn't about being of service. It was about having fun. The most important thing is fun, and his highest fun was loving us and loving and being loved and helping us. So yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for continuing to share things he said and pictures, like every little picture, that you find, or another clip or another story. Like, I'd never heard Rev share's synchronicity with her friend Frank. I didn't know that. But I love you all so much, and I love staying connected with all of you, and yeah, to everyone who works for Keith's Cacao, and to Rick and Ellie and Andres and Gisela and Nicole. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I love you all. Thanks.
Thank you, Anna. We love you too, dear. Dale, are you ready?
Hello.
I think you're on. Hello.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. Great. Hello, everybody. I am feeling a little sacrilegious at the moment, so I hope you will all forgive me. I've just known Keith for so many years, so many, many, many. And for those of you who don't know, Keith was a Leo. Obviously, he was a Leo. With the playfulness and gambling about like a little lion cub. But when I first met Keith, he was kind of like a jerk. But he absolutely changed my life, literally all by himself, which was kind of interesting because I didn't know that he was doing it. But I first met Keith at a I have a concussion going on, and a lot of my memories and my use of the English language still haven't come back yet. But I met Keith at a sweat lodge. We both had a friend. I still have. I suppose our friend did too. His name's David. And David was friends with both of us. And he decided that we should meet. So he arranged it. And we both went to this sweat lodge. And those of you who have worked with Keith a while are probably very aware of what a gorgeous voice he has. And his singing and chanting and stuff, just absolutely magnificent. Well, I met him at this sweat lodge, and we became friends over years. And I was always aware of my magic, even when I was just newborn. And this one of Jennifer Tucker's teachers that she just mentioned, Bill Russell, he would tell me that if I had been born into a more enlightened society when I was a little child, they would have taken me immediately to the shaman for training instead of taking me to the crazy doctors who gave me all kinds of pills and stuff that was really unnecessary. And they gave me some really heavy duty, awful medications that they were hoping would make the voices go away. They were my guardians. You try and make guardians go away with, Thorazine. It didn't work. And the doctors were getting very frustrated because they just figured, we'll give her this medicine and then all of the voices and stuff will go away. And of course they didn't. It did occur to me one day when I was seeing yet another psychiatrist, because he was trying to figure out what medication to give me next. And I found it within myself to say, if I'm hallucinating all of this stuff, how come it's always right? And doctors don't like to hear that. They just will not listen to, just won't. So I just decided, okay, well, I don't need to go to doctors anymore, which was useful. Oh, thanks, Jennifer. I have to ask you for contact information from him when we're done. But anyway, there was probably still is a growing group of practicing magic people with all kinds of different gifts. And I tried to join in and be friends with these people. They, it's really kind of difficult often to be the only person that you know that is experiencing these things. And so I wanted to be involved with these people, and they just did not want me to be there. They really didn't. And they were mean to me, honestly, and they made me feel bad. And like they would have speakers and teachers come from all over the place, and I would, you know, do things with them, and they would be real impressed with me, and they would tell the group, you should really avail yourself of this person, you know, she's really good, which made them mad because they were busy shutting me out, and I was very sad about it. And things started to change when I started spending more time with Keith. He had a lady at the time, and he told her this one day, he decided that they were just seeing me in this really bad, useless light. So he was going to change his mind about what I was, and that he would stop seeing what this group of people said that they saw, which I still don't understand how they managed to do that. But anyway, he just decided, I'm not going to see her that way. I'm going to see her this other way. And he talked with his lady and he said, I'm doing this and I would like you to do it too. So there were two of them, and they were just looking at me being other than the way all these other people were looking at me. And that was when my life started to really change. All he did was change his mind, and it completely changed my existence, which I'm very grateful to them for. I have no idea what would have happened to me if they hadn't done that. But it was damned interesting, and I am grateful to him for that. And I miss his visits, although I see him all the time. He apparently, when he transitioned, he caught on to being everywhere at once, and he is having such a good time doing that, folks. He just absolutely loves it. And the word that I had picked up for him years ago was a bodhisattva. I imagine some of you have heard of bodhisattvas. Yes, Jennifer, Kelly, Blended Essence. Yes, them. And So anyway, from my looking into what in the heck is bodhisattva, and that is a person who has learned to be a master and was ready to go to a next level, and they decided to stay behind to help other people go ahead of them. And that, I think, was very much Keith. And I have when he would be visiting me, when he had moved away from where we both lived, one thing that still I'm curious about, when he was visiting me, when he would get up in the morning, he would lock himself in the bathroom for several hours. And I always wondered, what in the heck is he doing locking himself in the bathroom? And it was difficult because where I lived before, we only had one bathroom. So he would get up early, he would take the bathroom, shut himself up in there. And if you had to go to the bathroom, oh well. Where I am now, there's 2 bathrooms. So that was really helpful. But it was, I imagine nobody knows what in the world he was doing in there, probably meditating or talking to some spirit, somebody or other. But that's one thing I don't believe that I will ever stop wondering what that was about. It was funny. Didn't seem funny all the time. He also had a lot of fun teasing me about being unhappy about germs, because he was sincere in his belief that germs and such bacteria and things do not cause illnesses or any problems whatsoever. So he never paid attention to any of it. So he just didn't have any problems. You know, he was really good at manifesting and seeing things, but it was a little bit interesting for me whenever we would be like we'd set a pot of soup on the stove, and then we'd go meditate for some hours until the soup was done, and then we would eat. And he would always just take dirty bowls out of the sink and just put food in it and hand it to me, here's your I said, nope, that's not my soup. I always had to wash things, and he teased me a lot about it. I see Anna is laughing. Yeah, I was always scared of the dirty plates, and he just would laugh at me all the time, and it was fun. But anyway, I was talking to him, I mean, now, which is what we see is now, apparently he was always doing this because all of us are always everywhere. We're just kind of paying attention to being here right now. But yeah, he's just been impressing his spirit teachers with his transformations. And as I was saying, he exists everywhere. And so he hears us all the time. He comes to see us all the time, giving us lessons and things, the bodhisattva that he always was. And he gave me an image to share with everybody, because we keep being told to just listen, listen to the universe, listen to our teachers, listen to our guides, listen to the spirits, and then we'll get help doing the things that we need to do and want to do. And so during what we were the meditation that we were doing when we began this get together, he gave me this image of how it would be easier for us to listen because we kind of didn't know how. It's like, how do you just listen? I'm listening, how do I listen more? And he gave me this image of, like, say you're in a room and you are next to another room and there's stuff going on in the other room and you want to know what it is. So you can, like, take a glass and put it on your ear and put it next to the wall. And then you just kind of tune out everything else and you listen through the glass to what's going on in the next room over there. And he said, just do that and you'll be able to hear. That's how you try to hear. You can just put your ear next to the door or the wall or something, and that will help you hear the stuff that you're trying to hear. And if you want to see something and you're not quite sure how to do that, how do you focus and see something? And he gave me a picture of an old door, one of the ones that had like a skeleton key that you, like, put in the keyhole and you turn it. And he said, just get down, on your knees and just look through the keyhole and you'll be able to see the whole room. And I said, wow, that's a really easy picture to work with. And he wanted that spread around. Along with telling us how much he loves us. And of course, he knows we love him too. And I do miss him, but not as much. If I'm paying attention, I mean, he's standing next to me right now. He's there like all the time. He comes and plays with my cats. They miss him. When he would, come for an extended visit, my cats would just hang all over him like fruit on a tree. And it's like, I didn't have any cats when Keith was visiting because they didn't want to have anything to do with me. They'd climb in his lap, they'd sit on his shoulder, they'd sit on his head and play with his hair. And all I was my sister sent me a birthday card this year and had this woman sitting on a couch next to her cat, and she said to the cat, "You're my everything." And the cat looked at her and said, "You're my can opener." And so that was me. When Keith was visiting, I was their can opener. That was it. And when he would eventually leave, because he always had other places to be, they would go into mourning and they would mope and mope they missed him so much. And I was like, yeah, they're not my cats when Keith is visiting, but he does come by and play with them now, which is really sweet. And he visits me and he gives me advice. And so today he showed me this image that would help folks who want to work on things, how the Bodhisattva can help get you over the next wall into the next place. And I thought that was useful. Anyway, love you all. And it's so good to see you all. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dale. You're always welcome here with us. Really good to see you. Martha Ryan, are you ready?
Hello. Yes, I am. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, cool. I wasn't planning on saying anything, which is the way it tends to go. I'm gonna be somewhat brief. Yesterday I got up and, as per usual, drank my cacao, went downstairs. It was a beautiful day as the light was coming through, and it's winter here, and it was very magical. And I felt like I hadn't really been connecting with myself very deeply in the last week or so, going through some things. And just this moment came and I couldn't put words to it, but there was a sense in my body. And suddenly I just took out my poetry book and I just started writing and writing and writing. And that hasn't happened in a while. It's very special to me when that does happen. And I always date my poems. And so it was only when I finished writing it that I saw it was the 14th of the 1st. And I realized that it was Keith's 1-year anniversary. And now today, upon reading that poem, it's actually quite magically insane that it came through. So I'd love to read you my poem. It's about 2 or 3 minutes. So let's see how we go. Unfurling and releasing, the pressured air increasing, breath by breath, sound by sound, melting identity as new roots shoot through ground. The wind washes my worries, blasts shoulds, coulds, and woulds, confronted as the clock ticks by a lotus in the mud. To die is to live, and to live is to die. Each day another layer shed by that night. I lose my grip, I release my embrace. Lasting lines of truth remain to decorate my face. Like sand through my fingers, life's echoed whisper she lingers. A haunting reminder of impermeable form, dropping lies we held inside from the day we were born. For life is metamorphosis, transmutation in action, as buried heads lay quiet, stomachs full with distraction. But I choose today not to look away as the sun's rays caress my face. Momentary warmth pervades my bones. Through transition, I know truth. Within change, I am home. The season's reflections bravely mirror my spirit, shining a light upon decay and the stories that live within it. Shaking off the past like a tightly fitted boot, breathing in motion as life's only truth. I let go to become something bigger than me, as hope dashes through the wind and love rustles in the trees. These impermanent fixtures, borrowed only for a while, to appreciate life's beauty through each passing smile. To live is to let go of everything before, to drop the burden of a soul's weight in opening for more. More beauty, more wisdom, as days become weeks, as roots shoot through the ground and leaves crisp in the trees. It's gifting your baggage to the moon and the stars, finding forgiveness still alive within the scratches of your heart. We dissolve what we think to become what we know. Wisdom, courage abound in every shadow of the soul, contracting yet expanding as we release given names. To know life in its truth is to become what remains. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Ita and Shale.
Thank you, Martha, and everyone. That was amazing.
Thank you.
All the shares. Wow. Can you hear us?
You're very quiet.
Mosquito den.
Is it better now?
Much better.
So I'm sharing.
The first man, except also you, Rick. But
So I thought to write something, but Keith just tell me, just go say, talk from your heart, say what you need to say. It will be okay. So for us, it's a special day. It's not just one more memorial as for everyone here. And Keith, you never left me this year. I was in your surrounding all the year. I was magnetized to the porch some years ago, and luckily you gave me the permission to record the sessions. Although it's very noisy, I was keep on hearing it a lot this year, and keep on contacting to you and feeling this magic from the porch. And this magic from the porch also come on visiting us in our ceremonies. We're holding ceremonies, and sometimes I even tell people, now, can you feel it? It's happening. This is the magic that we were so honored to be part of. And each word of the people here that say that sharing is matters. So please feel open to share. And the sentence that Rick, you mentioned that Allah wrote was keep on following me the whole year. I will not repeat it now, but you know what I'm talking about, when the student is ready and so on. So it was with me the whole year, and it was like oxygen to me. And many of the sharing here are like oxygen to me, so it's amazing. And I just want to share that I also had a dream, and now when Andres mentioned his dream, now it makes sense, because I took it literally. And now I understand it much better. So the formula on the wall were stormy water, and keeping the daily duties and keeping your daily routines are keeping, as Keith told me in the dream and told us in the dream, is keeping the head over the water. Keep your head up, and he will take care for the formulas. He will take care for the stormy water. So this is how I got Keith's message a few days ago. And why I took it literally, it's because I was dipping in the ice water the same day, and I took a video, and the video can hardly see my head. So I said, okay, you just told me keep the head above the water so people can see you, which also makes sense. But the deeper meaning, of course, makes much better sense to me now. So thank you, everyone. We love you. And one more thing I want to say for the end. So we were traveling in Central America for some months in 2019, and I was a bit disappointed in the end of the traveling, because I was looking forward to meet my tribe, to meet people that I resonate with. And we left, and I really felt like, where is my tribe? And today, more than ever, I know where is my tribe. So thank you.
thank you, Shirley, and everyone. I will just say also a few words. I said to Shirley, I don't know if I have something that will come out today, but I have also a dream that I will share that was 2 nights ago, since it's so nice with these dream shares, I think. That I've dreamt before where I met Keith, or went to that timeline, or how we will put it. And but this one was very, very different, because it was like, first it seemed like it was in the house of the porch, the San Marcos, like the small house, his and Barbara's. And I came to kind of help to clean or make nice or something. And I look, and it looks to me like he already passed. So I start making first him, Keith, nice. I make his hair, I comb, and I put new clothes. And he was kind of in between there and not there. And I make the whole house and vacuum and whatever, all my housely skills. And then more and more he begins to become alive, Keith. And then he became younger and younger. And the next thing I see is that we sit and we play. It was like a play with crystals. And the crystal that keeps coming back to me is because he said, this one is this is the crystal. And it's a yellow, I think it's called a lemon crystal. I can't remember, lemon something crystal. I actually have it. I don't have it right here. But anyways, it looks almost like neon color, but it is a crystal. And he had all his crystals, I had mine, and it was this playful energy. And I just wanted to bring that dream because of that, because many people here remember that Keith always had this childlike energy and that it had to be fun. And I think sometimes for me, and I guess us and many people on this planet, especially these years, that we can forget this, what was Keith's really such an amazing ability when we were like, ah, and then he would say something funny or sit with the unicorn ears, and Barbara too. So I think that crystal play, even though it was very gentle and a very gentle childlike energy, that it was a good reminder. And then of course the crystals that are so healing and powerful. So yeah, and I miss him too, we do, and we feel his presence all the time. But we also, like Sholi said, we have a big family here with all of you. And also what Keith Cacao has brought us, the cacao tribe here around where we live. And we make many, many cacao ceremonies, and we bring in the wisdom from Keith and all of you and the Mayan people. And also on Sunday, we will make a small ceremony for Keith, for his life, for the cacao, for all this teachings. So it's so precious, and we love you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you from here.
Thank you both so much, Dita and Shole. Good to see you. Sondre, are you ready?
Hello, Rick. Hello, everyone. Very nice, and thank you. Good to be here and to be listening and to feel the atmosphere and the energy and the memories and just what awakens by being part of this. So thanks for setting it up, and to every one of us for being here. And there are a few things that I have in my mind that I find I would like to share it, because it's these are some examples of some a bit magical synchronicities, and one of them has to do with Andres. He spoke about the Mayan date of today, the the day of the seeds of 5 Canil. And it happens to be the same day as another quite well-known and quite meaningful teacher from Lake Atitlan, from the village San Pedro. His name was Tata Pedro Cruz. He passed away on that Mayan date of 5 Canil or Hop Canil. So it's a coincidence or a synchronicity that this happens today to commemorate Keith, the same day as also another teacher from Lake Atitlan also passed away in Mayan dates. And he was a very meaningful person, especially for, I knew him, but my wife here, Jennifer, she had a very close relationship with him. And yeah, he was also a great teacher. And the memories of being with Keith too on the porch, we both had the honor and the luck to meet him a few times, to be sitting outside of the porch and to participate in some of the cacao ceremonies. And I can't remember exactly when my first time was. It might have been in 2013. But I remember that during one of the first times, I don't know if it was the first one, maybe it was the second or the third, then I had an experience that for me was one of those most remarkable, most like powerful, I guess you can call it shifts or awakening, or feeling like coming into something that I had not experienced many times before. I had also experienced something, I had been touched the same way also in Lake Atitlan during a Mayan fire ceremony. And these types of experiences are priceless. They're just priceless. And for that, my gratefulness to Keith and the way he's helped so many people. And I remember also some years later when I think it was maybe 2019, and I participated in another cacao ceremony at his porch, and I came with a different energy, and I was mostly listening and just feeling, being present. And finally it was my turn and to speak, and I kind of didn't really know what to say about me. Like I said, well, all that I'm doing is I work in a school. And then he said, well, you know, one of the most important jobs that you can be doing is working with children. And it was really nice what someone here said, I can't remember who it was, but talking about the connection she felt with Dumbledore and Harry Potter and Keith. And that's something that I've thought about several times before, how Keith, he must, obviously he knew the mythology of Harry Potter, and I guess he must have consciously worked a bit on that story, and how he was awakening us who came there to awaken our magic. And yeah, I guess he was a type of a Dumbledore to many. And it's funny because we're here at home, we're reading Harry Potter with my our daughter, and we've just started reading book number 6, where Dumbledore eventually he passes away. And when this person in the in the reunion here started talking about Dumbledore and Keith and all of this, then I could feel something made sense to me too, like a little reminder that, well, I'm working with kids at a school, and often I'm at a place, I find myself coming back to a place where I feel confused about what to do, what is my path, with how to approach other people with the energy that I associate with cacao, and being able to break through what I feel as like I guess it's my own resistance towards sharing it. But it's always an inspiration. It's always like, I guess, coming to a gas station to participate in this. And I could feel some tears coming to my eyes too, and some feelings being awakened, and these feelings, they're for me like the confirmation that there is something here that is right, and to be able to listen to those feelings. And like many have also pointed out, that Keith is not gone, that our guides, whether being Keith, whether being some other energies, people that we have known that are no longer here, that all of this is still there, still here. And it's really nice how some have said too that these people that have passed away, they're still so present. It's just that the fear is gone. The fear that we had to deal with, that they had to deal with, being in a physical body, working through a physical vehicle. And how we can learn from that, how that can inspire us to move forwards in our own lives and work through that same fear. So thanks. As always, it's always good to reconnect. Thank you, Rick. Thanks to all of you guys who work with the cacao, with the legacy. Also, Andres, it was really beautiful, the pictures of the fire, because with my wife here, Jennifer, we really also, we feel a strong connection with the fire, the Mayan fire and the ceremonies. And it was really nice to hear that connected to this call. And yeah, the unification of it all.
I would like to share something. I am from Guatemala and now living in Norway because I married Sondre and came here. But I met Sondre in 2010 there, and we met actually in San Marcos and around a Mayan fire ceremony. And in these times, I was really into the Mayan calendar, the Mayan cosmology. I was walking with Tata Pedro, and then I met Sondre, and then he was the one who was attracted to go to Keith's ceremonies. And to be completely honest, I was really skeptic, because I was thinking like, yeah, chocolate, here in Guatemala, we drink chocolate all the time, it's like, what are you going to come and tell me now that people are taking it to this level of being like chocolate ceremonies, cacao ceremonies? So I'm like, yeah, it's there's a lot of things happening in San Marcos, so you can go, and then he went, and then he came back and he said, let's go, you have to come with me. And I said, okay, I'll go with you. And I went there, and I really felt really uncomfortable. I mean, I have participated in different ceremonies with people from all over the world coming to learn about the Mayan calendar and stuff like that. And I believe now that I really felt uncomfortable, and I even have had to leave the porch, because I feel that I was like, he's up to something. He's going to pick on me, and I'm going to have to probably deal with some shit I was not ready to deal with. And I ran away and I said, no, this is not for me. Thank you. You know, I hope you enjoy it and everything. But to make a long story short, I actually started connecting with Keith after when Sondre started joining the Zoom calls with him. And I was there too. And I started talking to him and I told him this story. And we were just laughing because it was so funny. It's like, I ran away from your porch, but here I am sitting in my couch in Norway, listening to you and really enjoying a lot and really being touched by him in a way that it was not scary for me anymore. And I really think about him a lot, and I know that these teachers, they were beyond life and death. You know, they understood something that we're still maybe learning and catching up through them. But I am really happy that I can also share a bit my story here, and that I love to be part of these kind of conversations and uplifting and magic and playful, because sometimes we can fall away from it, you know, like coming to these 3D stories of just like a bit dense. And through listening to everyone here today, I feel that my heart feels lighter, it feels more open, and something has moved inside of me. I have dropped some tears too, very emotional, because like Sondre said, today in the Mayan calendar, 5 Canil was the day that Tata Pedro also left this plane. And what he did also was to leave the seeds of Mayan knowledge and teaching. So for all the seeds, may they be blessed, and may we hold them and spread them. Thank you very much.
I just want to add one little detail, and that's behalf of my dad, whose name is Keith too. And he's not Keith Wilson, but he's Keith Walker, and he's American, and he lives here in Norway with us. And he was in the beginning a bit skeptical to cacao as well. He was into coffee, but in the recent years, then I started sharing a little bit of cacao with him. And he's 82. He's 80, or actually next week, the 24th of January, he is his 82nd birthday. And now he really loves the cacao. And I tell him that it's really good for your heart. It's good for many things of the body, and he really connects with the cacao. So on behalf of my dad, Keith, I also want to say thanks, and that I somehow feel that Keith Wilson somehow connects through him on some level. He's an older man, you know, and sometimes he talks about really funny things, like talks about things from it's like it's from another world, but there is some wisdom in it. And I somehow think that for me personally, that's one way that I can connect with Keith.
And Sondre's dad also is going through a stage of beginning with Alzheimer. He lives in an elderly home. And I feel that every time that he is, Sondre is offering him the cacao, he feels this happiness, like, oh, I'm going to take something good now, you know? So it goes beyond also the mind, because it touches the heart.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Andre and Jennifer, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Lovely to have your shares. Katie Strong. Hello.
Hi, guys. So I don't know why I've been feeling a little bit nervous to share, but okay. Here's what I wanted to share. Keith Keith has been much more present in my life since he's passed than when he lived across the street from where I was living in Guatemala. He's been so present, and he just comes in at so many beautiful times. And I will say I've had the amazing, spectacular, beautiful honor since I've been living back in the States, which happened in September, to have beautiful play with 8 Keys Cacao practitioners in 7 different states. And we've been having so much fun together. And his name has come up so much. And with each one of them, except Anna, because Anna, we got to do a fun dance thing, but each one of them, we got to do a cacao ceremony. And we just were like, Keith is here, he's playing with us. And we were having just so much fun with him. And I mean, I got into some really, really interesting things with Yael and with Nicole. And with Alara, we spent the day playing with the trolls in Sedona, surrounded by those beautiful rock formations. I mean, I've just had so much fun playing with Keith, playing with these other practitioners, which has just been such a ball. But he just comes in at random times and he reminds me to play. And when I pass his picture on my altar, I'll usually go and boop him on the nose. And I just love him so much. I'm so, so, so grateful for all the incredible messages he's brought to me, both during his life, but as I've said, they've really greatly accelerated since he's passed. And I mean, if you saw me smiling during any time that may have been like at maybe potentially an inappropriate time during this call, it's because he is so happy. He is so joyful. He's been having a ball playing in the other realms. And I'm just so freaking happy that I had the honor to know him while he was on this plane and see his incredible beautiful smile and see his like magical light and see his magic in person, but to have like direct answers from him now anytime and have him come in at like surprising moments. I am so incredibly grateful, and I'm incredibly grateful to Herb and Allah for introducing me to the powers and magic of cacao and to this magical chocolate shaman. Just so grateful. I drink cacao every morning as I'm meditating, and I would say probably half the time I'm in tears, which is beautiful, usually tears of gratitude and light and joy. And I'm just so, so grateful for this beautiful light being for coming to earth and teaching so many of us and sharing his magic and light and sharing cacao, cacao, the medicine. So oh, I'm just feeling like I'm buzzing all over right now, all the way to my hands. I'm just, oh, magic. I feel like he's like inside me right now, just like, yay! Okay, that's all. Thank
Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you very much. I want to take a moment. I know many of you messaged me asking about Barbara. And see if I can figure out how to do this. Can you see this picture? This is Ellie and I. In December, we went to see Barbara. She's staying in New Jersey. She is in a amazing, amazing place. It's designed to help people as they transition from being completely independent to needing more and more help. She's actually sharing the space with her ex-husband. Many of you may not know that she was married before she met Keith. Well, she got divorced and then she met Keith. His name is Jeff, and he's a little older than she is, and he is having the same type of memory loss experience, although not as accelerated as Barbara. So it's a really wonderful situation. She is comfortable and happy, and we had the best time this day at lunch. And I know many of you have asked me, hey, she stopped replying to my messages. What's going on? She unfortunately has seemingly lost the ability to do that. Although I did get a random text from her in October, which was completely completely unexpected. But for those of you who are wondering, she's doing really well, and was very healthy. Right, just she's doing very, very well. Thank you. So Dale has a special request and a question about the Mayan calendar, of which I know nothing. But Geraldina, if you're still here, dear, maybe you could hop on and take Dale's request. And then if no one else wants to share about Keith, we'll wrap this up and let everybody move on.
Let's see if I have the answer.
Dale, did you want to ask your question?
My friend Julie sent this to me. She said, this is my birthday and it means something special.
So, dear Dale, first I would have to know your birth date, and then I would know which Nahual is this. But for the character or the symbol, I think it's Ahpu. And just FYI,
Yes.
it's the same Nahual as Keith was. Our
Yes.
dear Keith was Hunahpu. And so I would need to know your birth date.
I can tell you that if you have time or inclination. Would you be interested? My birthday is May 15 of 1955. She designed this.
Yeah. Can you say that again? May 15th?
Yes, 1955. Trying to get it in the camera.
1965?
55.
Sorry.
I'm having trouble getting this where the camera is.
Oh, it's not showing, but it's the 11 Ahpu. It's Hun Lahuch Ahpu. And as I said before, it's the same Nahual as Keith had. He was Hun Ahpu, and he left the body on a day Hun Ahpu. So he completed his cycle in this earth realm like fully. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And Hunahpu is the energy of the solar energy, the sun, and also is the warrior energy, amongst many other things.
Maybe that has something to do with why we had so much fun working together for all those years.
Yeah, where your energies were alike, very
Yes.
similar. I mean, it's the same energy, just different tone,
Yeah.
different number.
Isn't this lovely? What my friend made. Thank you very much. I've been wondering. She sent this to me and said, "Here, happy birthday. I made this for you."
You're
And
more than welcome.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Dale. Jennifer Kelly has her hand raised.
Hi. All right, I've written it down. I knew Keith when I was in my early 20s. My mother was one of the founding members of the group he talks about, Blended Essence. We were a diverse bunch of people, so far from perfect and enlightened that it's not funny. So I'm very sorry on behalf of everybody for the pain inflicted on Dale. That was not good. So I'm sorry. And I hope Keith would be okay with me getting a little bit real. We were all very complicated, strong personalities, and that was not always a good situation for everyone. And when we were dealing with the utter foundation of crap inside of us, sometimes that comes out, the crap comes out and people get hurt. And that was ultimately not our desire, but it unfortunately happened. And anyway, this is real work with real fear, dealing with real trauma, and that sometimes, and we had no idea what we were doing. And sometimes I feel like I never ever figured it out. But anyway, it also means that when you're dealing with fundamental stuff, some real momentous healing work can also happen. And that sounds like more of what happened over the last 20 years, that he was able to build a safe, good space for real work to be done. So I feel immensely grateful that Keith was able to do that for himself and for thousands of people, obviously. It's remarkable. So anyway, as some of you have said yourselves, he could be brutal. And I try to remember that he was complicated and that he was human. And when I'm still mad at him, I try to give space for him to have struggled and make mistakes too. And remember that this was like 25 years ago, and he probably got better at peopling, as we all do. But we know he was very much into no bullshit, which sometimes included, people who were lying to themselves, not being gentle to people who are lying with themselves or choosing to continue to hide instead of their face their stuff, like I did. So he could be very loving, fun, and laid back socially. But often when we met in Blended Essence meetings and did our group meditations and spiritual work, he would arrive like vibrating with this high and very activating energy.
Hello, this is Kate in the Prodigy Electoral Group.
Sorry. He would arrive with very high energy, ready to work on himself or to help others. And he would say, that something I really remember about him is that he would say anything at all. Shocking, weird, way out there, completely unconventional. And I felt like I had to kind of gird my loins when I was around him. Like at any time he could say something that would just blow my mind or just change how I looked at anything or everything. And that was very affecting, which also kind of triggering sometimes. And so, but one of the things that I regret most is that he was so happy that it was hard for me when I was not happy and I was around him. And which is a very generous thing for him to do, to be around people who are not happy when he would bring the vibration up, right? So anyway, it was great how free he was, and it was great that he would never take on people's expectations of himself. He was happy to be a fool. He was happy to just do what he wanted. He wouldn't take on other people's bullshit or tolerate it, which was amazing. Like, there's not a heck of a lot of people like that. And he was brave enough to do what he wanted and be positive and make what he wanted to see in the world, which was amazing. And he was always very happy to admit when he was wrong. And he was I don't know, just different than anyone I ever knew. So but I really honestly remember that he was just had a really good heart, and he would always help anyone who needed it, and that he could spend the rest of his life helping so many people means a lot. And he loved the earth, and he loved so much of being human. He loved so much of being a spiritual being, and he vibrated with that energy, and it celebrated everything he loved every time he breathed and walked around. And that was very inspirational.
Jennifer, thank you very much for that share. I can't begin to tell you how many times he told me, or told a group of us, that it took him a long time to stop being a dense jerk asshole. Trust me, he kept a little bit of that with him for as long as I knew him. And he did have this amazing way of saying something that was going to put me off kilter. I still examine those experiences and try to understand, why on God's green earth did we just drink cacao, have a meditation, and him start talking about the collapse of the Pacific food chain? Right? Like, what? Where the hell is that coming from? The food chain's not collapsing, right? Like, what? But I think it did a remarkable thing. I think it helped him identify who was going to stick around on the porch to listen to whatever was going to come up in their own head. And I've sat there frequently and watched people walk off, and he would say nasty shit about them, right? Which, was like, yeah, why you're going to leave now? It's because you're not ready. Go ahead. And the energy would improve. And I think it also helped the rest of us. If we were willing to sit there like I was sometimes and go, okay, I guess I'm going to have to accept that the food chain in the Pacific is collapsing and we're all going to die soon. I can accept some of the things that are coming up in my own head. It's a long process to become something as magical as Keith. And he went through that process too. Oh, Mimi, it must be like really late in Austria.
Not so late, but I'm already tired, if that counts. But before I let you wrap up, I have to add a tiny little thing. I don't know if it was already said today, but I remember from last year that someone referred to life BK and AK before Keith and after Keith. And I feel very grateful that we can all come together and celebrate that, because that's the connection we all have, whether we know each other and share stories on this plane or not. And yeah, I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, dear. AK, huh? I was explaining to some of the team members on a call this week that it is really difficult for me to believe that an entire year has passed. Just like that. this won't be the last time we do something like this. We're trying our best to get Keith's Cacao as far around the world and to as many people as possible. That is the mission that he left us with. Return it to the world. There's a whole other legacy to him, which is much of the work that we're talking about today that many of us had the opportunity to do with him. And, you likely had a cup of cacao in the process, and that greased the wheels and made your physical presence more ready to accept and receive the gifts that the universe, through him or through you, had the opportunity to have. And that's a magical part of this. I'm sure I'm not the only one who would love to go eat a big plate of greasy noodles at La La with him and listen to stories. I do miss my teacher. I miss my business partner. I really miss my friend. The version of him that exists now has not even once suggested that we should go eat some greasy noodles, which is interesting, I guess, in its own right. This community that I get to be a part of because of him is so amazing. And I am feeling compelled, and I'm sure this is him. Each of you have this in you as well. And if you're not already, encourage you to grow your own communities, build this love, teach what you know. If you're already doing it, and I know many of you are, keep going. This is where the real prosperity is. Keep going. Well, my friends, I think the time has come to close this call. I hope that when the sadness subsides, when the grief begins to pull away from you, you will remember something beautiful and joyous that would have been that is a remembrance of him. I know I will. If you need anything, you can reach out to me directly via email, rick@keyscacao.com. If you've got a problem with a shipment or something like that, then just send that to info@keyscacao.com, please. There's better qualified people to deal with it. But if you need anything else, you feel free to reach out. Wishing you all an amazing remainder of your day.